your first time with this festival. So I'm just curious, aside from maybe the venue that has its standout as unique, why is this one important to you?
Well, I think one of the first things that comes to mind is it's important to me because of my family and my daughters. I think, anytime, it was the same thing when I was a kid. I didn't want to think my parents were cool. And so my daughters, they don't think I'm cool. And then I get booked to play Rock the Universe, and they think, okay, Dad, you're kind of cool for one day. So, but it really is, it's a unique experience like no other. I mean, just the way that Universal they've created an incredible experience for people who go to Universal, period, right? And then to kind of like recreate the park and infuse all of this music and Christian music, which happens to be my favorite kind of music, into the whole park experience. It's just, there's no event on my tour calendar this year or any other year that's like it. It's its own special, unique day, and it's one that my band and I look forward to every year that we get to play it. My only concern is my band going to make it to the stage on time, or are they going to be stuck on, the Harry Potter ride or something? I don't know, some roller coaster.
Has that happened before?
Well, we've had some close calls, but the Universal folks, they keep, close tabs on us, and they walk us around the park. And, musicians, we tend to wander off. We're like my dog Rocky, we see a squirrel and you take off, right? So, you see an attraction at Universal and you might miss your showtime, but they make sure we get to the stage.
That's awesome. I know there's quite the lineup this year. I mean, in addition to yourself on both nights, is there anything you're looking forward to having some time with some of those other artists, perhaps?
I thought it was just me. I didn't think there's other artists. Oh, that's so disappointing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, on our stage alone, I think it's Zach Williams and Ann Wilson and myself. And Ann Wilson is a dear friend of mine, and we've written lots of songs together, like My Jesus. And she actually wrote with me on my song "Me on Your Mind." And so I think there may be a collaboration on stage at Rock the Universe that we're working on. I can't tell anything, but so yes, it's really cool to connect with the other artists as well. It's a really great community, and we all kind of have a mutual respect for each other. So that's a lot of fun.
I was actually going to ask if the listeners were going to get some of those new songs that you've released, Me on Your Mind. I know you did last week, You Changed My Name. I was curious if some of those might hit that list.
They will. It's going to be a combination of like songs that people already know the words to, and then I'll throw in a couple of newer ones. I think Me on Your Mind was my last number one song, and so it was fun to be able to celebrate that with Ann Wilson, a young artist, and so we're definitely going to kind of combine the two. But I've got a new record coming out in February, and it's a double album, 22 songs. I don't think Rock the Universe is going to let me play all 22 that night, but we'll give you a little taste for sure.
With the mix of the new and the old that you kind of mentioned, I mean, I'm sure you've already had the set list kind of planned out, but is there any that you're particularly looking forward? I mean, I know you mentioned Me on My Mind already, but any others that you're really looking forward to getting out there and playing?
Yeah, we actually had rehearsals yesterday to kick off the new year. And I will say, I mean, Me on Your Mind has just been a special one to play. A reminder that God is not absent, that sometimes we're made to feel small and insignificant, but in God's eyes, that is not the case. And the Psalm says, who is man that you are mindful of him? Human beings that you care for them. Like this amazement of really, God? Like you think about me? So I love singing that sentiment. But I will say my newest song is the title song of my new album. It's called My Story, Your Glory. And it's like this kind of, Springsteen, anthem. And that one, I'm pretty pumped to play live. It just feels kind of epic. You know what I mean? And when you go to Rock the Universe, Universal is epic. So we need the show to be epic too.
Oh, for sure. And if I'm not, you mentioned your double album. If I'm not mistaken, the first part of that, the My Story part, is more about your story and listener stories you've had interactions with. So I'm sure that there's going to be something special about getting those songs out there, but especially in these types of situations too, with the festivals where you get that direct interaction.
Yeah. Well, that's really what I see when I look out into the crowd these days is, ever since I started collecting people's stories, it's like I don't see a crowd of faces. I see stories. I know that might sound corny or cheesy, but it's like the reality that every single one of our lives is a story that's being written. And when I step on stage, like the thought occurs to me, is that your cat?
Yes.
That's amazing. What's your cat's name?
Tiger.
Tiger. Oh, I'm glad my dog's not here. He'd be going nuts right now. I keep him out of the studio when I do interviews, but yeah, I love writing songs inspired by people's stories, and really that's what my hope is when I put a song out, is that it will step into somebody else's story, right? Like when they interact with your song, that's what's happening. And if it resonates with them, it's struck a chord with them, it means that maybe they can relate to it from their own story's vantage point. And so the power of story is a theme that's kind of woven through my whole songwriting career. At the end of the day, as a songwriter too, like I'm a storyteller, right? Like, and you can relate because you tell stories and you give me a chance to tell my story. And your cat, right? Uh, does your cat do the typing when you're doing? I'm just kidding.
She thinks she can.
She,
But no, that's a good point that you're making, because as a songwriter, I mean, you're drawing from your experiences and others' experiences, but ultimately trying to craft something that a larger audience can relate to in their situation.
well, and that's the beauty of it, is kind of the realization, the aha moment that, man, we are all created uniquely with no two fingerprints the same, and no two stories the same. And yet, isn't it amazing how music can highlight the connectivity of all of us too, right? And that's something special about Rock the Universe. Like you get up on stage and there's a crowd full of people, and all of a sudden they're singing every word of the same song. And to me, I like to think that when somebody's singing, when they've committed a song of mine to memory, that tells me that like they let it be part of their story. Maybe in a small way, maybe in a, oh, that was catchy way, or maybe in a, hey, that song is a lifeline for me. I needed that message. Thank you, God, for that message that came to me at the right time. And people tell me that. And those are the most humbling moments when someone says, hey, I was going through this and I heard this song, or my friend sent me your song, and I can't tell you how much it helped me. So that's the beauty of it. Like I was working with a band the other day, and we were talking about how we're not writing a song today, like we're writing a lifeline. Like I want to send out a 3-minute lifeline to somebody who's hanging by a thread and let them know that there's hope.
Absolutely. And I'm curious if that's also a little bit why you're making an effort to have kind of like these worship focused songs too. Because you can, again, not that you'll meet a different audience, but you'll be able to introduce them to this other concept as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, because you cover Christian music so much, that like within the genre of Christian music, there are like split genres too.
Mhm.
So, which is odd because I've never thought of my music as not worship music.
Right.
But it just tends to, I kind of separate the two like this. I feel like there are songs in Christian music, there are songs about faith, which would be in the worship category. And then there are songs about life from a faith perspective. And
Mhm.
that's where a lot of my storytelling comes in, right? I'm not writing a vertical worship song, but I'm writing a song about a guy named Ron who battled ALS for 3 years, and how his story impacted my life. And I'm telling the story of Ron, but it's no less of a worship song. It's just telling a story with a little more color to it. And so I really loved the idea of this juxtaposition of an album, My Story, Your Glory. It felt like it broke into two parts, but then comes back together. So 22 songs. My Story is the first album, and it's me kind of doing what I do. It's not songs you would get up on a Sunday morning and sing like Amazing Grace, but they're no less worship. But then Your Glory is the song, is the anthem, is the, hey, let's come together and worshipfully respond to the thought that God is at work in our stories, the way that he does miracles, the way that he brings us through difficult times in our lives, the way that he forgives us. And so I think it's a theme that has made my heart beat. It's been my why. It's gotten me up in the morning and excited to write songs and share that with the world. And I'm really happy about the record, and I can't wait to share part of it at Rock the Universe.
Absolutely. And I know we're getting close to time, so I'll just wrap with one final question for you. But sounds like you're starting the year off with Rock the Universe. And so how do you kind of hope that that sets up this year and being able to connect with all your listeners?
Well, after Rock the Universe, it's all downhill, you know. It's like it's to start the year on such a high, like literally being on roller coasters and having a blast, you know, and being in Florida, which is nice and a lot warmer usually than where I live and the other parts of the country that I traveled to. But no, but I just think it's with great anticipation that I get to come to Rock the Universe, and I'm so excited for this year ahead. It's going to be a year of a lot of new music, new stories to be told, new songs to be written. And it's just, I'm so thankful as I look back. I really feel like this new album is a celebration of the God who's brought us through some of the hardest years we've been through. And I'm looking forward to Rock the Universe being a time to celebrate that fact as well.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Matthew. Really appreciate getting the time to
Time. It's good to talk to you, and I hope your cat enjoyed the interview.